Hello, amazing teachers. Our topic today is managing stress and anxiety, but just because we're talking about that doesn't mean that we can't have a little fun. Now, I mean that. Yes, this is a heavy topic, and yes, we want to help students to feel like they can be safe and comfortable in talking about the kinds of things that stress them out. But remember, this lesson doesn't mean that you need to be an expert. You do not need to be an expert on this subject. You're simply teaching the gospel. The principles of the gospel of Jesus Christ will bring our students closer to our Savior, and He can help them with the strength they need. Now, it begins by having students prepare for this discussion by making a list on the board of things that cause stress or anxiety in a teenager's life. And this is where I think it's going to be great to kind of break the ice on this topic. If I had a chalkboard, or if you're doing it digitally or even on a piece of paper, jot down what the students are supposed to be thinking about, brainstorming about, things that cause stress or anxiety in a teenager's life. Now, my recommendation is you set this up as a game. So divide the students into teams of 2 or 3, depending on your class size. So let's say we've got 3 teams here. Then give the students 1 minute or 2 minutes, depending on your group and how much time you think would be best, to make a list of things that cause stress or anxiety in a teenager's life. But in order to get a point in this game, you have to come up with something that nobody else has come up with. So you want to be creative and think a little bit deeper on what kinds of things to put on your list, because if anybody else has that, you don't get a point for it. Now, there's an opposite side to that. Now, let's see, team 1 writes down homework. Well, the other teams were thinking, well, everyone's going to write homework, so I'm not going to write homework. So then all of a sudden, nobody else writes homework. So then you have it. So it's not just that you can't write more common or easy answers, but that you stand a higher chance of other teams maybe also having written them, or maybe not. It encourages each of the teams to have a good list and a creative list. Anyway, when you're ready, after the 1 minute or 2 minutes, start maybe with team 1 and say, okay, give me your first one. Homework? Good. Does anyone else have it? No? Okay, well, you get a point. Next one, parents. Okay, team 2 and team 3, you guys also? Okay, because they can raise their hand and say, yeah, we got that one. So what about school? No? Okay, well, then you get a point for that. Social pressure? No. Friends. Oh, team 3. Team 3 got friends. So after you're done with team 1's list, then you go to team 2. What did you have that nobody had? Body image? Team 3? No? Okay. Lack of sleep for team 3. Okay. So all of a sudden now you've got this list on the board that students can look at, and then you might have them look at that list and kind of vote on what they feel are the top 3 or 4 stresses. But this is a way to kind of energize, get them thinking creatively about the subject, and have fun doing it. Now, lessons like this, it's such a pertinent topic. This is a great opportunity for you to practice some of your other skills that we've been working on over the year. For example, inviting students to respond to questions. In our manual, Teaching in the Savior's Way, one of the topics is to invite diligent learning. That's the way the Savior did it. We need to help learners take responsibility for their learning. And one of the ways we can do that is by encouraging them to share the truths that they're learning. So inviting learners can be a really good tool. We might ask, how do you think you can tell when stress and anxiety is normal and healthy and when it's too much? This question may not take much preparation, and so you might point to, Sarah, how do you think you can tell when stress and anxiety is normal and healthy and when it's too much? I think many students will have ready answers for this. As you come down into the lesson here, we have another opportunity to prepare students to find answers as they look in the scriptures. So when you post these scriptures for students, don't forget to give them something, a lens through which to look at those verses. So you can, however you want to set this up, let's read them together or have them do it in small groups or by themselves. But then make sure they know the direction. Look for how these scriptures might apply to us when we feel too much stress or anxiety. Now that they're looking for that information in these verses, when you ask this question, what did you learn from these scriptures? Students are ready because they've had a lens through which to look at those verses. Let's actually try that now, because I would encourage you to invite students to answer this question. So let's take a look at it together. If I were to click on the first one, cast thy burdens upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. Now, think about what we just did. Pretend you're the student. You are to be looking for how this can apply to us when we feel too much stress and anxiety. You're reading, cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. What are you getting from that verse? Let's take another. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increaseth strength. Just with those first two scriptures, if I were to say, brother or sister so-and-so, what did you learn from these scriptures? What's exciting about that question is that many students are going to have different answers from one another. And that's amazing because it's going to apply to everyone just a little bit differently. So as you go through those scriptures, feel free, and as you really look at your students, you probably will see students that are ready to answer, that are thinking about things. Feel free to invite them to share. If they don't feel like doing it, I'm sure that your students by this point in the year feel safe and respected in your classroom enough to say, no, I don't have something in mind, or that isn't something I think I want to share. But in most cases, students will be happy to share. Have fun with that opening activity. I think your kids are really going to like it. And don't be afraid to invite, especially if you've properly prepared them. Done properly, it will bless the lives of your students as they share their thoughts and testimonies with one another.